And joining me now with reaction to all the latest news from the Trump administration and my opening statement, President Trump's former campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski. All right, good evening, Corey.
Good evening, Judge. Great opening statement. I loved it.
Well, you know, I'm amazed. I mean, how does a woman spend this much time talking about herself when she's a loser? If I were a loser like that, I'd be in a corner, depressed and hiding.
Well, the greatest part is she continues to blame everybody but herself for the worst-run campaign in the history of presidential campaigns. She completely forgot where Wisconsin was on the map. Yeah. She lost Iowa. She lost Ohio. Russians had nothing to do with her being a terrible candidate. It wasn't that she was a woman. It was that she was her. That's why people didn't vote for her.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with gender. It's the fact that people knew who Hillary was and knew that she was a terrible candidate and knew she wouldn't protect American citizens if Benghazi was any indication of the kind of responsibility that she would have.
And the woman had no credibility, no trustworthiness, but enough about her. Now, let's talk about the president. President Trump has been doing some very interesting things lately, and there is talk that he is now reaching across the aisle, especially if you listen to Pelosi and to Schumer, that he's ready to deal with the Democrats. What do you know to be the case, and what do you think the implications are?
What I know is this president has laid out a clear vision for America, and in the first 8 months of his administration, the Republican Party has failed to repeal and replace Obamacare, which they were supposed to have done by April. The American people were very clear. We want a change agent to go to Washington to get things done. This president is a person who's pledged to get things done. He's a business executive who knows how to get things done. And if that means the Republicans aren't going to work with him to repeal and replace Obamacare and to get our tax reform package done, then he's going to put a coalition together because the American people deserve it.
Well, you know what's interesting is that I think that the vast majority of Americans agree with him. The dreamers, and let's talk about DACA. I mean, they're here, you know, under no, they didn't come here illegally. Their parents brought them as children. But I think the interesting thing is, if he says he has concern for them and he cares about them, I believe that it is ultimately going to help him on both sides. That it's not really a question of whether or not, the right is going to dump him and whether or not the left is going to criticize him. I think it's good across the board.
Look, Judge, the most important thing that this president can do, and is a pledge that we made on the campaign that he's going to fulfill, he's going to build a wall on the southern border. That's going to stop the flow of illegal immigration into our country. It's going to save American lives. That has to be the priority. You put that and you couple it with tax reform for the middle class. You cut the business tax down to 15%, and you bring back all that trillions of dollars sitting overseas. Guess what? Now we have a country that's actually putting America first. You stop the flow of illegal immigration so people are safe in their homeland. You give them more money, and you get government out of the way. The rest can be dealt with later, but those are the priorities.
You know, what do you say to those people on the right who are, very upset with the president? I say, just so you know where I'm coming from and tell me if I'm wrong, good for him. I am sick and tired of the Paul Ryans, the Mitch McConnells, saying the president comes in with unrealistic expectations, and the senators who voted to replace and repeal Obamacare campaigned on it, and then when they had a chance to do it, demurred. I'll use that. I mean, this president has no choice. He's working for us, and he's bucking the establishment on both sides, is he not?
Judge, he ran as an outsider to Washington. He didn't run as one of the swamp creatures. He ran as somebody who wanted to bring change. And if that means you've got to work across the aisle to bring the change that you promised, you have to do that. Look, the Senate leadership knew that the president pledged to repeal and replace Obamacare, and they couldn't even get the vote done to actually have a vote on the bill itself. They couldn't get past the procedural motion, which is absolutely crazy. Look, the president wants money for the wall. He has pledged that. He has pledged that he's going to cut the corporate tax rate and to bring money back from overseas and double the deductions from middle-class working families. And here we are in September, past Labor Day, and none of these things have been done. We didn't have a transportation bill done. The Republicans and Democrats have failed the American people for 30 years, and you finally have a president who's going to hold them accountable.
Do you think this is the end of the Republican Party? I mean, I believe that, you know, middle America is fed up with the gamesmanship. And if the Republican Party had its way, this president would not have any legislative successes, and he'd be going into the midterms, you know, a legislative failure. And I get that there's legislation that he signed. But is the Republican Party over?
I think what Donald Trump showed you in the primaries and ultimately in the general election were people aren't so concerned about the party. It's about someone who's going to bring the change to Washington. We're $20 trillion in debt, Judge, and Republicans and Democrats for the last 30 years have added to that debt. We haven't had a balanced budget except for 1 or 2 years since Newt Gingrich was the Speaker of the House. What have Republicans done to bring that debt down? It's time to have someone who's willing to take control, take command, and say, you know what? Washington, business as usual is over. Donald Trump is coming to change it because that's what he's pledged to do.
Tough job for him, but I still believe he's going to do it, and I believe that his supporters are with him all the way. Corey Lewandowski, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.